Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Mark here from Overlanding Forward. So today we're going to delve into why planning is the most important aspect of going overlanding. Let's get into it. So there seems to be this romantic idea that you can sort of load up your car, your van, your truck, whatever that vehicle might be, and just wing it and go and spend 2 weeks in Spain and Portugal without any plan of where you're going from, to, what you're going to do there, and how you're going to come home. And some people have had great trips doing that. And if you're that type of person, go for it. However, you need to build in contingency for when things go wrong. I'm in Portugal. Yesterday was the biggest power outage in Europe ever. Did I plan for it? No. Did I have contingency? Absolutely. So my rig is built with power for 4 days, water. I carry about 30 litres of water. I have a hot water heater, and I plan for contingencies. Now, did I plan for this? Absolutely not. And I can tell you how I got caught out. Yesterday, I drove from the north of Portugal down here to the south. I have less than 50 miles of fuel left in my vehicle because none of the service stations are open. I'm in a situation where I'm here at a campsite which has no power, which has no running water. So you can't plug into the grid, you can't have a hot shower. So I'm lucky that my vehicle has got all those facilities built. But I'm down to my last 50 miles of fuel because I did a long run down when all the power went out, which means none of the service stations were open. None of them had any power to be able to put fuel into the vehicle. And that's just a one-off example of how things can go drastically wrong on a trip, and you need to plan for the contingencies. So planning isn't about control, it's about freedom. If you plan well for any contingencies, whether they happen or not, you have more control on how successful your trips will be. So let's talk about having a minimum plan. So if you decide to go on a trip, I always recommend that everybody, and I do this myself, and this is based on 25 years of doing this, that I have an alternative route. So I have a general idea of where I'm going to go. I plan my route out. I know I'm going to do certain routes in certain days. I've got it down to a science now where I know roughly how long I want to drive for each day, and then I take in contingency for that. But I always have a secondary plan, which is if this route is blocked from a tree, rockfall, or something across there, a gate which is locked, I need to know that I could backtrack and find my way around that. So using those maps and using other technologies such as Gaia to be able to look at the detailed maps that you're going on, you can also download them as well, helps you have that contingency that you can get around any obstacles so you can plan your way through it. So I'd highly recommend that when you start planning a trip, have a general idea of what you're going to do, where you're going to start, where you ultimately want to end, and then in between that, multiple routes that you can use, primary route, and a potential backup route to get around any obstacles that you'll find. And you will find them. I've found them many times. There's one example I can give you. I was up near the Smuggler's Trail. I found a trail which was a loop out and back. It was up into the High Pyrenees. I was driving very, very close to the edge. It was a single track, rock on this side, high mountain, big drop off on that side. And all of a sudden, round the corner, rockfall. Couldn't get past. There's no way I could have got past. I had to reverse close to half a mile back down the track before I found enough space where I could turn around and get away from it. Those things are things you can't plan for. They're going to come up. They will come up. You will end up in those situations. It was scary because I was on my own. And there were a couple of times, because all you had was your reversing mirror, and for us being on the right-hand side, I couldn't see the dip-off. And there were a couple of times where I had to stop, get out, and this tire down here was very, very close to the edge. That half a mile reversing around a rocky ledge took about 45 minutes. And I can tell you this from experience, I was scared that I was going over because I simply had to rely on my reversing camera and my wing mirror on this side to get me through what I was looking at. The other thing you need to look at is legal requirements. So from the UK, if you want to go to Spain and Portugal, double check your insurance policy allows you to drive in Europe. There are a lot of policies, especially if you go for a cheaper option, that will not allow you to drive in Europe unless you pay for something. So double check your insurance before you leave. Secondary, make sure your MOT is up to date. There are plenty of examples of people that have left and their MOT has expired before they got back. I know someone that got caught by the French who demanded a valid MOT and didn't have one because it expired. Now, that's down to planning. That's down to your own responsibility to make sure that all of that is in place before you leave and it's good enough to make sure it can get you back. The other things you need to remember as well is the French are very, very picky on things like warning triangles, reflective jackets, and even breathalyzers. Yep, they demand breathalyzers in your car. Now, whether this is a rule or law, I'm not sure, but ask me how I know that. I got stopped during COVID going from from Spain into France. Near the Pyrenees, there were roadblocks in place. I got pulled over. I was in the Defender. The French demanded to see my high-vis jackets, my warning triangle, my breathalyzer. Like, what breathalyzer? €50 on the spot fine. Go figure. Also, make sure you have a basic supply route. Now, this thing's kitted out with enough water to last me probably 3 or 4 days, right? I've got 50 litres, it's not full all the time. I probably travel with about 25 litres of water. That's enough to get me through 3, 4, 5 days. I can do hot water on here because I've got a hot water heater, so I can have a hot shower. So I have to be very careful how much hot water I want to use. I don't drink a lot of water during the day, especially out of the tank. But if I have coffee, all those sorts of things washing up. So make sure you have enough water for the people that are with you in that vehicle. So when it comes to food, I suggest you have enough food to last you probably about 3 days before you have to go to stock up again. Now, if you're coming to Spain and Portugal, there are plenty of small villages and towns that have supermarkets where if you're running out of some supplies, you can dip off a trail, you can go in there, find a supermarket, get what you need. But generally, make sure you have enough food. So yesterday, because of all this mass blackout, I was running really, really low on food. Luckily, I managed to find a supermarket that was still open. I had to queue to get in, but to get basic supplies to get me through, not knowing how long this sort of blackout was going to last. So make sure you have enough food and build in contingency that if you do miss a day and you do have enough food, you'll still be able to find where you need to go in a town or a village, or jump off the trail and go to the nearest supermarket, wherever that might be. Now, the other thing I highly recommend is that we rely on technology, and yesterday was a prime example where technology would have failed you because there was no mobile signals. The mobile networks across Iberia were shut down. If you were on a trail relying on 4G and 5G for navigation, it wouldn't have worked because you would have ended up with no signal. Now, high up, you can't get signal anyway, and you have to rely on downloaded GPX maps. But I highly recommend wherever you're going to go, from the start all the way to the finish, you get paper maps as detailed as you possibly can, or print out downloadable maps that you can get directly off of things like Gaia or from Wikilocs. Print those out and keep them with you, just in case. Now, the chances of you running into a situation like yesterday, well, it's a once in a lifetime thing, but it does happen. And yesterday, if anything, proves if you rely on technology, you're going to get screwed, because yesterday everything stopped. So the reward is good planning means you can travel slower, stay longer in places that you might see. You can find yourself up on a Pyrenees mountain pass, pull over, have a picnic for 2 hours, enjoy the sunshine, and you're not in a situation where without planning, you have to try and get 200, 300 miles or kilometers a day to go from point A to point B, or from point B to point C. That panic is eliminated by you planning and making sure you have contingency in place. Now, trust me, there are trails out there, and I've done them. Some I consider easy. You can quite easily travel down gravel roads, and you can poodle along doing 20, 25 miles an hour quite comfortably. You can cover quite a bit of distance. Now remember, you're not on tarmac road. If you're new to this, you cannot drive 50 miles an hour on gravel roads. You are asking for trouble. It's also not very comfortable either. So getting a feeling of the trails that you're on, how long they're going to take, helps you plan what the rest of that trip looks like. It also comes quite tiring as well. If you're on the motorway, this thing can quite easily go in cruise control at 70. You sit back, you listen, you have one hand on the wheel. You can't do that when you're off-road. Now that might sound obvious to some people, but you have to pay attention to things like ruts, washouts, rocks in the road. All of those things you have to pay attention to. And when you do slow down, when you're on the side of a mountain pass, you have to take notice of what is in front of you. And so your concentration levels go way up than driving on the road. On the road for us, if you've been driving a long time like I have, it becomes second nature. You can sort of anticipate things that had happened. Somebody cuts you off, you see traffic in front of you begin to slow down a lot quicker. All of those things just become sort of muscle memory for you the longer you've been driving. If you've not driven off-road, those things, you do not have that muscle memory that shows you how to anticipate what's coming. So when you drive off-road, my advice to you is you have to slow down. You have to anticipate what is coming, and you have to read the route in front of you. So having sort of digital maps in front of you or somebody that's guiding you can help you see what's coming. I always scan my Wikilocks or whatever digital app I'm following. I always scan it so I can see what is coming and get an idea of where the turns are. And you can also see things like switchbacks, and it's no difference if you're using Google Maps. You can anticipate what is coming, but you can't physically see what's coming until you get to that point into the trail. So over-anticipating distance when you go and do these trails and how much you can actually cover in a day, most people underestimate it. I know many, many people that have got off a trail after thinking it'll only take 3 or 4 hours and take 7 or 8 hours and been exhausted at the end of the day because their concentration levels are so high and they've been on the road so long, it becomes very, very draining. My advice to you is this: if you find yourself in a situation where you've overestimated where you want to go in a day, just stop. So my general plan is that I wrap everything up around 10 o'clock. I try and do maybe 2 or 3 hours, stop for lunch, take an hour, whatever that's going to take, and then do another 2 or 3 hours. That is a long time to be driving. I know how to pace myself. So if I'm looking for a campsite, I need to be in that campsite around about 4 or 5 o'clock. So I can then just relax. I can pop everything up and I can have something to eat and just chill. If you find yourself on the trail at 4 o'clock and you've got another hour or 2 hours to go, my advice to you is this: find somewhere to pull off, pop your tent, wild camp if you can. Or the alternative, if you can't find anywhere to wild camp, is find a way off that trail, get onto the blacktop and find your way to a campsite as quickly as you possibly can. Because that's when mistakes will happen, is if you go on too long during the day and get too tired, that's when you'll run into problems. And trust me when I say this, I've been in the same situation, especially when I've been on my own. I've pushed it too far. I've overestimated how long it's going to take to a campsite. And I have bailed. Many times I have bailed off a trail, got onto the blacktop, found a campsite, or got to the end of a trail and said, okay, I'm too tired, enough, I'm done. Pop the tent, get something out to drink, have some dinner, chill and relax, and go again the following day. So you're 2 or 3 hours behind where you thought you were going to be. The following day you can do this. You could hop back on the trail, you could bypass it, you could get on some blacktop, you could take out 40, 50 miles of trails and then pick it up another day. But if you plan for those things and plan for those contingencies, you can work your way around anything that might come across. So if you want help planning a trip, things like checklists, or even how to start at the beginning to plan one of these long trips for maybe 10 days, 14 days, head over to Overlanding Forward, download the free checklist. I'll put a link in the description up here. This is now my 25th trip to Spain and Portugal. I know most of the trails that I've done like the back of my hand. There are trails that every time I come here, I want to try something new, something different. I'll add it into my routes. Is it boring doing the same trails? No, because there are many different offshoots that you can take to be able to build a bigger route, a better route, a different route. But there are some with stunning scenery that I want to see over and over again. And it's very magical to go back to the same place, whether it's cloudy or whether it's sunny, to go and experience that again. So no, I don't find it boring. I find it exciting and enjoyable to find different offshoots of the trails that I know and I enjoy. Also, with the book coming out, the book was built because when I started coming to Spain and Portugal, there was no help at all, none. And so the book was designed to help you learn from the lessons that I've learned in the times that I've been coming to Spain and Portugal in a vehicle like this. If you want help with the trips and your planning or your vehicle setup, or just have questions that you want to ask, hop over to Overlanding Forward. There is a free checklist. Is it important? Is it anal? Is it OCD? You bet it is, because you're going away in your vehicle and you're probably going to be covering close to 3,000 miles. One, it's got to get you there. Two, it's got to get you through the trails that you want to do. And more importantly, number three, it's got to get you home. And before I go, I'll give you one last tip. Make sure you get European breakdown coverage. If you get the annual cost and you're an AA member, which I am, it costs less than £280 a year, which covers you from from Spain, Portugal, France, Germany, all the different zone countries from zone 2. If you want to go further afield, it's going to cost you a little bit more. But the cost of one breakdown to recover your vehicle and get it back to the UK or get it to a garage, and you find out you've got something catastrophic with your vehicle, will pay for itself. Trust me, I know many, many people who have got into trouble and found out that their vehicle couldn't get home with them. Okay, so if you want help planning your trip to Spain and Portugal, if like me, there is nothing out there that can help you say, I don't know how to do this, number one, head over to overlanding4wd.co.uk. There's a free checklist. Go download it. It really does help starting that planning process. If you want to do a consult, there are plenty of things that I offer in there where you can just say, I want to do a 40-minute consult, and we can jump on a Zoom call and you can say, Mark, I'd love to do this. I've got no idea how to start. Where do I start? And I'll help you through all of that. The book is coming out in June. June 30th is the scheduled published date. That was built purely for this reason. When I started coming to Spain and Portugal, there was absolutely nothing out there that I could rely on that helped me plan a route, look at all the pros and cons of going, where to go, how to get there. All of that doesn't exist. And so the book is designed to help you do that. Thank you very much for watching. Again, overlanding4wd.co.uk, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.